kids get on quarantine and what have you.
Yeah.
A quorum up here, we'll get started.
Slackers.
I didn't want to interrupt anybody's visiting, but a really nice night out. Probably a lot of folks rather be home sooner rather than later. So with that, we'll call to order the regular board meeting for March board. We do have a quorum, even though there are only 4 of us here. Unfortunately, we had 3 folks that had other engagements that precluded their attendance. We have a quorum physically present here. Cindy, do I still need to read all this?
She's retiring.
We didn't have anybody sign up to speak. And we're offering it as a virtual option. Nobody signed up to speak. Y'all have all heard this before, so I'm going to dispense with reading it. That said, then, Pledge of Allegiance. Man, somebody had a birthday last week and is going to be moving into a new position.
And it was a big 5-0.
Well, I wasn't going to say.
Who's counting?
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything about that because I'm a gentleman.
Oh,
so.
I'm not.
Where is she?
She's right there, Miss Cochran.
Miss Cochran.
She can lead us in today.
She was back there and I lost her.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Who is helping with recognition tonight, Cindy? Very good. So without further ado, we've got some outstanding recognition. I'll turn it over to the superintendent, Mr. Pagel.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Russick, and those that are here tonight. So glad to see all of you. I think we were visiting quite a bit because it's nice to see each other more and more, and appreciate that. And again, happy birthday, Ms. Cochran. I couldn't resist when it's the big 5-0 there that we broadcast throughout our email system here at the admin, so happy birthday. But tonight we do have a number of recognitions, and we're going to start in our athletic program. And I believe Mr. Jess Wheeler, if he is here, our associate principal at the high school, we're going to honor some all-state athletic trainers. So Mr. Wheeler.
Good evening. So 10 MHS student athletic trainers have received the distinction of Academic All-State by the Texas State Athletic Trainers Association. In order to receive this award, students must be a high school senior, have an overall GPA of 92, be in good standing as an athletic trainer, and of good moral character. And so congratulations to each of these students. We do have a few that are participating in softball tonight and couldn't be here, but I'll announce their names as well. But we'll start with Madeline Bennett. Then we have Hannah Bowden. Standing here, we have Coach McCune. And we have McKinley Clark, Mackenzie LaBeouf, not present type. We have Madeline Flegging and Caitlin Powers. And then we have Anna Grace Rankin. Next, we have Rachel Roach. And then we have two more unable to attend tonight is Jenna Rowat and Alexis Stevens. The student athletic trainers at MHS assist the licensed athletic trainers with duties such as providing first aid, injury evaluation, stretching, and muscle taping. Midway's licensed athletic trainers are Chad McCune and Chen Win Lee. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. It's also my pleasure this evening to recognize a state award winner, and the award is for State Guidance Counselor of the Year, and that is Ms. Kim Booth. She will come forward. Ms. Booth is our high school lead counselor and coordinator of student services. She has been selected as this year's Career and Technical Education Association Texas Career Guidance Award recipient. She will now compete at the regional award level against other state winners. Ms. Booth has over 22 years of experience in school counseling, providing career development, academic achievement, social behavior, and mental health guidance to middle school and high school students. Congratulations to Kim Booth. Of course, our programs and our students and programs are fortunate to have her under their guidance. So please join me once again in congratulating Kim Booth. All right. Now it's an opportunity to recognize another outstanding department here at Midway ISD, and that is our communication departments. Each year, the Texas School Public Relations Association honors outstanding contributions in school communication in their Star Award categories. Every entry this year from Midway ISD scored as a gold standard, which indicates top quality. So, first of all, multimedia specialist Robert Pryor won Best in Category in Digital Presentations for Midway's Back to School Guide. Our Back to School Guide is a checklist for parents preparing for the start of school. So, of course, our Director of Communications, Tracy Marlin, won the Crystal Commendation for our bond election. And this is the highest honor that this association bestows upon bond elections. We also won this in our 2013 bond. So since 2013, Midway has swept every category entered for any element related to bond projects. So we appreciate the service, of course, of Tracy and Robert that they provide to our community, to our staff, and to our students for their communication efforts. So please join me And congratulating Tracy Merlin and Robert Pryor.
Thank you, George. And in keeping with the communication theme, we're going to move agenda item 7, superintendent's communication, up, because technically the recognition that it's about to be given is not already on the agenda, but we think it fits under superintendent's communications.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
you
Appreciate
bet.
allowing you to move that item number 7 at this time. So again, it's my pleasure for this board meeting and for those in attendance and those that are listening. And of course, my pleasure for Midway ISD as a whole to announce some administrative changes in our district. So first started the dominoes with Stacy Voigt. As you all know, our principal, Dr. Voigt of South Bosque, is our new Director of Elementary Curriculum and Instruction. And that necessitated then a change over at South Bosque Elementary School. And so it's my great pleasure to introduce to you South Bosque's assistant principal, Ms. Sherry Burns, who is now taking over the reins starting April the 5th, actually, Monday. So congratulations. And Dr. Voigt will be transitioning to her new role in the district, and so we are very confident those two have things ready to roll over at South Bosque. So congratulations, Sherry Burns. And then another administrative change, of course, as you all know, the announcement of the retirement of Dr. Herb Cox after 9 years as our principal at Midway Middle School, highly successful, highly beloved, and we will miss him greatly. But then it led that opening for a new principal for the middle school. And so we had quite a lengthy process, outstanding applications, outstanding individuals within our district applying for that position. But very, very proud to announce that Mr. Jay Fisher was selected, our current principal of Spring Valley Elementary School. Mr. Fisher has been principal of Spring Valley, I think 11 years, right? Or is this your 10th or 11th? But 10th year as principal of Spring Valley. Before that was a coach and a math teacher at our high school, many years here in Midway ISD, and is ready for the next challenge. He's moving up, folks. He's moving up now. He's grown up. He's moving to the middle school. So we're really proud of Jay Fisher. I see his wife and 2 boys are here, so Leanne and Lincoln and Jackson. So welcome to them, and glad that they're here tonight. Also then, with his move to the middle school, it left an opening at Spring Valley. And again, the bench is deep here in Midway ISD, and another outstanding assistant principal that's worked for Spring Valley for 5 years, and before that at Woodway Elementary. So proud that she was selected, and would love to introduce to you now Ms. Cappy Edwards. Principal now of Spring Valley, and so we're very, very excited for her and her leadership, and appreciate Jay and Mr. Fisher and working under him, as well as Dr. Pena when she was over at Woodway. So congratulations, Cappy. So now I got to use my memory because Jay and Cappy are covering up everybody because I can't see past them. No, I'm just teasing. Just teasing. But a couple of other administrative roles, and so I see tonight on our agenda we have our annual special education report, but it is the last swan song, I call it, but of retiring Sharon Blanchard, who's been our special education director now 4 years, I'm trying to remember, 4 or 5. And so outstanding report. She's done a wonderful job in our special education programs and will be missed dearly. But very, very, again, excited and proud to introduce to you someone that's been working a number of years, of course, here in Midway, but is worked with Sharon as the coordinator of special education right under her, and again, through a lengthy process of applications and interviews, but rose to the top, and we're not surprised. And so please join me in congratulating and welcome Ms. Lisa Cochran, our new director of special ed. What's that? Yes, ma'am. I sure can. You're perfect. Perfect. And then finally, so I want to make sure, but finally, we certainly another retirement. Again, there were some retirements this year. Miss Debbie Perry, as you know, she's worked in Midway as a teacher at the high school, and then moved as our math coordinator for a number of years, and just simply been outstanding as our mentor, teacher, coordinator in the HR department, but she's retiring, and we then sought out who would replace Debbie Perry, and I think we found Debbie Perry's match, though. Miss Kathleen Minshew is our new coordinator, our mentor coordinator. Miss Minshew is a national board certified teacher. She has been working at Spring Valley as their innovation and learning specialist. She is strong in teaching practices and curriculum, and is going to be a huge boost and assist to our new teachers, new staff members, for her wealth of experience and knowledge. And we're tickled that she is wanting to move into this new role, and couldn't ask for a better person in Kathleen. So congratulations, Kathleen, on your new role for the district. And did I miss anybody out there? I don't think so. All right, everybody, come together. Yes, congratulations. Let's give this group another round of applause. So that we're in the summer, the spring and summer, and it's baseball season. Certainly proud to say that our bullpen is strong, and we got others ready to go, and we're proud of that. And so we have, with these assistant principals becoming principals, that means, I got some AP jobs to fill, and that's next on the agenda, and we'll work on those this next month as well. So again, congratulations. And then finally, Mr. Russick and members of the board and my communication, wanted to share with you, again, of course, it's the legislative season, and one of the bills, though, that is getting lots of attention, Mr. Tullis brought it to my attention as well, too, is this taxpayer-funded lobbying legislation that could possibly, if passed, I think it's Senate Bill 29. I put something out there in front of you. There's some talking points about it. But it really would affect the ability of school districts, municipalities, counties, to have folks that advocate on behalf of us at the Capitol. And for some reason, they feel like it's okay for businesses and other interest groups to have lobbyists, but not cities, counties, and school districts. And so that there's momentum. It seems this comes up every year, just like voucher bills come up every year, school choice type bills come up every year, but this one is there. So I just wanted you to see that and know that, again, if you talk in your interactions and acquaintances, please let them know, again, this would be harmful to school districts and as well as cities and counties. Not a lot of money is spent, very, very minute, small percentage of dollars are spent from district budgets. It's membership that maybe I might have in the Texas Association of School Administrators or other administrators in the district. Very, very small amount on their behalf. The district itself, we don't employ our own, so we don't have just an individual just working for just Midway. Some of the largest systems do. Urban areas, urban districts, large districts, but not districts our size. We rely upon these associations and groups. I know many of you receive emails from the Texas School Coalition, folks like that really do help us and help legislators understand our needs. So very, very concerning. The other area too, hopefully, that we'll see is the ESSER money. It's called the last stimulus bill. I think the new Secretary of Education at the federal government signed off on it, but the last dollars that were approved were supplanted. We didn't receive any additional dollars. That budget for Midway that was in the Trump administration, that first stimulus bill was about almost $500,000. We didn't receive that. Those dollars were supplanted. But this particular bill, you might recall, the number is 12 billion with a B, dedicated to public education across this country in this last stimulus bill. That equates, I think the state has been directed to keep a certain percentage, but well over $11 billion should be distributed to schools. Translates to Midway in two different installments to, I think, Wesley, close to $7 million could possibly be. Yeah, right, flowing our way. So again, just for legislative work and things of that nature, let's certainly advocate that they don't supplant, and kind of, if you all recall years ago when the 2011 came, under President Obama, that stimulus dollar, those dollars were simply supplanted. They weren't. They did not flow to the schools. That was during the time of the state budget shortfalls and things of that nature. So It would be very advantageous for us, number one, for the learning losses and ways to use the dollars. I know we can creatively use those dollars in the next year or two. COVID is just not going to mysteriously disappear. It may certainly thankful for vaccinations and thankful for the fact that the numbers are lower with positive cases, but for years we're still going to be working and dealing with issues with students and possible learning losses and being able to remediate and work with kids, as well as some facility type issues too. And so those dollars would be very much appreciated and needed. I just fear that our state needs to do what's right and send those as they've been directed. But you never know. Those are the two one of the biggest bills right now. They are doing a cleanup to House Bill 3. I haven't seen all the specifics of it. There's some pros and cons, but as you can imagine with House Bill 3, that large of a bill last session, there's bound to be some cleanup bills and things that they're correcting from the last time. So we'll kind of wait and see what happens with that one. So,
George, is there any plan with the superintendents or anybody to reach out to our legislators, Birdwell and Doc?
Not necessarily
Saul?
planned yet. We're trying to figure out how to, because as you know, the limits and restrictions
Yeah.
that are at the Capitol. COVID testing before you can even walk in, testimony, you have to be invited, it's not public in all cases.
Right.
So it's a big challenge for as what we could do in the past. Not use a lobbyist, just use ourselves to go up and,
Right.
and visit offices and things like that too.
Well, and I know the city and the county and a lot of the other political subdivisions have the same concerns, so I don't know if there's a coalition opportunity locally to
Agree, wholeheartedly agree
join
with you.
forces there. So,
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes out and start making some inroads with that,
yeah.
to do that.
And obviously, individuals certainly can contact those folks
Absolutely.
by phone, email, old-fashioned way, write a letter, and all those things certainly can't hurt anything. Thank you, George.
You're welcome.
On information items, we've got board operating procedures down. That's annually something that we should review. It's not on here for approval tonight. We'll have that at our April meeting. But if anybody has any questions or wants to talk about it tonight, we can do that. If not, we'll go on to the presentation discussion items. All right, so phase one, easy part, done. Schematic design, phase two, Woodgate Intermediate, the prizes have doubled in Double Jeopardy. It's more interesting. Right, Mr. Hafer?
All right. We were saying this is a little more challenging, is that correct?
Oh, I'm sorry.
He was focused. He didn't hear a word I
He didn't hear a
said.
word you said, yeah.
That's okay.
Well, phase one wasn't, phase one was a challenge. Phase two is really a challenge, so.
Fair,
yes,
fair.
Yes, the whole project is challenging. Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Casanis, it's always a pleasure to be here to present to y'all what we're going to walk through this evening is phase two of the Woodgate renovation project. If you're looking in your book, if you'll jump to phase two, all the way to page 6, I finally got my team to number the pages so we can follow through this correctly. If you remember, phase one is the West Academic Wing that you'll be receiving GMP on a portion of it this evening and the remainder of it in April. But that's the work to be completed and done in the summer of 21, this summer. Phase two is the remainder of the renovation of the project that will be, after approval tonight, as we continue the development of it, as we go through the schedule, it will be worked on starting in the fall of 21 and will go through just due to the demand and the scope of the changes that need to be made on the East Academic Wing and in the center portion of the campus, will then run through next summer and then be completed with the entire project to be completed and ready for the fall semester in 22. So that's kind of the overall scope of Phase 2. If you move to page 7, what you're looking at is the entry portion. In conversations with the district, this was one of the areas that we talked about a little bit when we presented Phase 1. A big change that we decided to do as we started looking at the academic and where the library was is we're actually flipping those spaces. We're moving the academic wing up into the existing library space, and then where the administration area is in the center core of the building to be readily accessible for the academic wings is being moved into the center of the building. By moving the academic wing or moving the administrative wing up to the front of the building, that allows us to properly create a secure vestibule that allows us to secure people in the lobby space as they come in to be checked in before they actually enter into the campus. Very similar to what we did with the new elementary. If you look at the basic concept, you have to be badged in at a pass-through window in the vestibule space by the receptionist to even be allowed into the space. The reception area is then locked down to prevent people from gaining access into the campus itself without authority to do so. You see the administration area. The layout programmatically is very similar programmatically to what we did at the new elementary. It has all the additional spaces that we, as we discussed and walked through the design of the new elementary, there were some additional offices and spaces that were added. So all of that is reflected in this design within the administrative area to match the new elementary. As you come in now, as you walk down that main entry hallway, where you see the main entry, you walk down the main hallway to the academic wing. You basically will walk into, there's a glass wall there now that is open, and so you'll have visual connection to the makerspace that is in the library on the left-hand side of the library. The library, similar to the new elementary, is primarily open in design concept. You have the office and workspace on the east end of it, or the right-hand side of it, and then all the library space, the stacks, the meeting spaces, the reading areas are all open now to the corridor space within the center of the building, so that the academic wings can easily flow in and out of the library space and through that space and create a very open concept to allow that engagement within the library that we see very common in elementary designs today. As you move to the right of the plan, we utilize the existing life skills classroom and the motor labs in that area. We created the same spaces with the motor lab, the ADC labs, and we're able to reutilize that space. As you move down and as we move into the academic wing, now this is where, because of the size of the existing classrooms, we're having to make significant changes for the kindergarten and the pre-K classrooms. One, to add restrooms into the classrooms because the existing classrooms don't currently have restrooms. We also had to upsize the classrooms to meet the TEA guidelines. So in essence, in the East Wing for the kindergarten, first grade, and pre-K classrooms, we basically took a class and a half. So we took 3 classrooms and created 2. So we're moving, there's a lot of moving walls, there's a lot of work associated with the plumbing that will have to be, it's slab on grade, so it's pretty easy to gain access to the plumbing underground. We'll have to do some trenching through the slab and repair slabs before we put the new flooring systems down. But all of this side will get basically gutted. The lockers will be taken out of the space. We'll have the same collaboration space on the pre-K through first grade wing, very similar to what we did on the 2 through 5 wing. It has all the same spaces. It has the teacher planning room, has a lounge, and then has storage for each one of the academic grade levels. In addition to the kindergarten classrooms have individual storage within each one of their spaces. So that's what you're seeing kind of as you look at those kindergarten classrooms and the pre-K classrooms in the southern hallway space there. If you go to page 8, that's just the continuation of the academic wing. We were able to, in working with the design committee, we were able to reconfigure a few spaces and shift some things around where we had some extra space when this school was built. Obviously, it was built as an intermediate school for 1,000 students. We're looking at an elementary school of 750 students for this same space. So we have a little extra room in the square footage. We had the ability to create a flex room within this wing. We've got it called, basically shown as a kindergarten classroom, but it could serve as an additional pre-K classroom, it could serve as a kindergarten classroom, or it even could serve as a first grade classroom. Now, if you needed a first grade classroom, it does have a restroom in it, which the other ones do not, but it gives you that flexibility that as student growth comes and ebbs and flows through the grade levels, it allows you some flexibility within the campus itself. Any questions relative to the plan proposal? Yep.
So just as a reminder, Steve, and to the board, that the number of classrooms is the same as our new building
Yes.
on Ritchie Road in terms of the sections for kindergarten or first grade, second grade. What Steve is saying, we do have, on this side of the building, we do have one extra classroom.
Correct.
So it could be applied pre-K, K, or 1. I kind of envisioned it as pre-K, meaning it would be a nice overflow. It's in the center of the district. You know, if we needed 3 pre-K teachers at some point in this area of town, then we could have that housed at this school. I think the other bonus is having, you'll notice back on, this is in 2 parts, your book, so not to get confused, but section 2 part there is, on page 7, was the ability of the special education to be centered there, even though, yes, they're going to serve pre-K, K1 possibly, but also some older students, but they're on the end of the hall. That's why we have the speech path or dyslexia intervention, even a room for intervention services, things like that. It's just a
Good point. We pulled those
Yeah.
shared classrooms toward the center core of the building to allow ease of access even from the other academic wing. Yeah.
And the motor
Good
lab and
point.
ADC not to be pushed, far back in a wing or something, but they're in the center of the building, things like that. And they could access the library services, cafeteria, a lot easier, things like that. So very, very happy. And finally, just too, about the wing is that you'll notice on page 7, girls and boys restrooms, banked restrooms, and then there's another bank. As Steve said, this was an intermediate school, so there are more banks. It's, to me, appears of restrooms, plus for the youngest students, restrooms inside the rooms too. So it's really, really an ideal situation. Steve mentioned additional storage. There's a teacher planning room plus a separate conference room for teachers for just this side of the building. The other side of the building has the same. And then that collaboration area is of course, plus flexible area within the collaboration. So it's a double flex there. Just meaning that whole area could be bigger and open up for these first kindergarten, first graders, pre-Kers, or divided up into smaller areas if needed too.
Well, and this one is a little different. In some conversations with Dr. Kazanis over the last week, we've reduced the opening size into the collaboration space, and on this side, in some conversations, there was the discussion about Little Wanderers. And so we actually put in some sliding glass doors, so you can actually, if they go in the collaboration space, we can actually close it off to kind of corral them.
Don't want to lose any don't want to lose the little ones wandering off. Yes, yes.
All right. If you go to page 9. Page 9 is the southern portion of the existing building. If you, off to the left, which is currently, it's one of the
It's
What's
where
it?
we teach beginning band and
Okay,
things like
beginning
that,
band, okay.
for 6 hours.
That is going to become the new art lab, and which is, it's a great layout for that. It's at an intermediate level, and it allows us, what we're doing, to put ample storage. We have easy access, the way we have laid it out with the sinks and the water, available access to existing sewer systems for connection. We're also going to create an exterior door for access to a patio, which isn't shown on the plan yet. We're still working on exactly how that lays out. But there's a great space out there once that portable goes away out there to create an art patio for this campus, very similar to what we created with some covered area and then some outdoor patio area, similar to the new elementary that you saw there. Across the hall is the music room, which was the band hall. So we're reutilizing that space, very similar to what it was utilized now. In the upper space, I think there was a lounge or a workroom. Those are serving as some of those spaces that, if you recall, that were on the second floor in the library space at the new elementary, which is the green room. The innovation learning specialist will have their office there, and then the literacy library will be there. And so that area worked, and its proximity to the library worked out very well for access there. The stage, as we move down, the stage area, we'll be putting in new lights, new stage curtain, new sound system. We are looking at pushing a small extension. While we can't widen the stage, we were looking at the opportunity to try to widen it, but because of its location and how it's tied in and the existing corridor system, we weren't able to widen it. So we are going to put a little bit of a four-stage out in front of the curtain to give them a little bit more space up on the stage and push it out into the cafeteria space. The kitchen area does not get a significant renovation. What we're looking at is paint, some flooring, some rework of the front of the existing serving lines to try to dress it up a little bit. The cafeteria will receive new flooring, new paint, new ceilings. We're going to be putting in some acoustical panels in there to try to give it some color and dress it up. The two gymnasiums, we're studying the floor right now. We think that the floor itself is in good shape. The rubber flooring, the paint is peeling off of it. We believe that it can be resurfaced without having to replace the full flooring system, but we're working with the construction manager right now to evaluate that and make sure we can do that appropriately. And then we'll paint the inside of the gymnasiums to finish them out. There's not a whole lot of work to be done in the gyms themselves. And then page 10 is just that upper gym. It's basically the scope and the work in the gyms are basically the same in each one. We are going to, now in the upper gym, that was the competition gym, we are pulling out the old wooden bleachers that are in there right now that the campus has said they struggle with being able to get them to open and work. So we are going to be replacing those bleachers. Exactly how many we put back, we're kind of still in discussion. Since it's an elementary campus, obviously you're not sitting the whole campus in there, so exactly what is needed, that we would probably be looking at maybe 3 or 4 rows instead of the 5, I think it's 5 or 6 that you have in there right now. So it would reduce the number of seating in there, but once again, it's not being utilized. If it's utilized as if the school district should, lease it out or let somebody utilize the facility for some type of event, at least there is some seating capability within the existing gym.
I wanted to, if you don't mind, if the board too, on go back, if you don't mind, to page 7, just wanted to highlight a couple of these things. I know you talked about the importance of the flip-flop between our admin areas and the library. I always wanted the board to see, I'm looking at section 2, page 7, but really, again, reimagining the entrance. If you've ever been into Woodgate, I'll just admit it's awkward. It's awkward getting in. It's awkward getting to the administrators or getting to a counselor, getting to the secretaries. There's just an unusual round rotunda. And so, as Steve said, this really does almost perfectly mirrors the new elementary on Ritchie Road. But notice there, that main entry, you still have that nice large vestibule. And there's doors, you can take care of business without ever going into the building. And to me, this is a better service to our parents needing to come up or folks just needing to do quick business there at the school can do that. If you get into the school, though, you'll notice now the clinic is right there on the end. So there's ability to do Dutch doors and things like that for students to have quick access to our nurse. You'll notice the workroom, the long workroom is straight off the hall for the staff. Counselors there on the end. This positions that could need kids quickly and things of that nature have been repositioned and moved. The corner conference room for things like that. So that area just makes much, much more sense. I'm saying in terms of just flip-flopping the spaces so that admin's in front there and can better serve parents, community of the kids there. And then there's no structural purpose of the roundness of the walls that the current admin is in, and that's why the library is like it is, that we can take those out and open that. And it really is gonna, visualizing it's really gonna have a much more dramatic effect. Because you walk in, then you'll notice that'll be glass where it says makerspace, so you can kind of see in some of what's going on in that makerspace area right then in the front. So just a nice, good, clean, exciting entrance to the school versus kind of, it's dark now, dingy, kind of not sure, where do I go? You have to go through a 3-door, I can't remember how many double doors you got to go in to finally get into the school. So it's just really going to be a reimagined school. So it's hard for me to show excitement on a piece of paper here of basically being able to redesign and for elementary students, a brand new school on the inside. It's going to be exciting for elementary education.
Well, and also as you come in, if you look right below the main entry, what's currently there, it's parallel to the wall across the hallway, and it creates kind of a little awkward space coming in from the entry vestibule because you kind of walk into a wall and then you kind of move over and then go in the doors to go into the straight hallway. So actually, that is the resource classroom in phase 1, right to the left of that entry hallway. So we've skewed the wall to kind of follow the angle that's in the natural wall there. And that opens up that hallway. It allows us, because there's an existing column there that's kind of in an awkward spot that's not quite centered. And so that allowed us to open that hallway a little more. The column is still there. We can't make the column go away. But it allows for easier flow around the column that's in the center of the hallway, and it kind of accentuates, you kind of get a forced perspective coming into the makerspace. And we have some quick images on that coming up here shortly. All right. I'll go through these very quickly. This is just a typical pre-K classroom. As we've taken over the space, some of the things that we're having to work around are the existing storefront on the exterior that are angled into that space. We've tried to minimize those into the space, put the casework in that area, pull the casework off to make sure that everything remains accessible and we get the bulk of the classroom space focused in on the teaching wall. So you see this is the typical casework and the cubicles that would be in each one of the classrooms, along with the toilet for the pre-K and then their storage classroom, or their storage room within the classroom. This is very similar in size and concept to the new elementary. The next image is just a quick shot of one of the typical first grade classrooms. So the casework, very similar in the casework that we showed in phase 1, and with the cubicles. This is from first grade all the way through 5th grade. It's the same casework layout. which matches what we did in the new elementary. So the classrooms are very similar in scope and the amenities that they have within them. This image was one, as we were working with the design committee, of just trying to help everybody understand kind of what can be done within that library space, and some of the furniture and concepts of potential layouts of how things could be utilized with reading pits, breaking up space for reading areas, classroom spaces. You see the maker space in the upper portion. It will have glass movable walls similar to the collaboration areas that can slide out of the way, where the maker space can open up into and have direct flow in and out of the library space, if so choosing to do so. But you can close it and create it, and it can operate just as a standard classroom within that area also. You see the teacher, you see the librarian's office. We're looking at, that area is kind of projected out where his or her desk sits, that we're looking at like butt glazed glass that will form along there to give them, if they have to go into their office space and they have to be on the phone or something, that they still have visual control of the entire library space. All right. This image is an image standing in, basically as you come in the main entry and as you're looking down the hallway to the kindergarten through first grade academic wing. What you're seeing off to the right, that is the makerspace. And you see the movable walls in the distance. You see the transparency into the library space. So what we would be looking at is full height glass from floor to about 7 feet, butt glazed glass. This would give us the opportunity to introduce some color. We've done this in some other schools where we introduce some color, or we can even introduce some graphics into this opportunity so that it's something that's real exciting. As you're walking into the school, you see this, and it's very prominent as you're walking in. Also off to the left, you see some of the things that also came about as a result of the existing structure. You see we have several display cases that are running down the hallway. Because of the layout and the space that we needed, the columns were sticking out into the hallway about 1.5 feet into that space. So we just took advantage of that, embedded those in some furrings, and created display cases along that hallway for the campus to be able to utilize.
Any concern about kids slapping their face against the glass and leaving daily marks on?
Well,
I'm just saying, I raised 4 boys, and I see lots of fun on that glass. So.
Well, and that's some of the things that, as we've talked about, we've done it with, yes, we've done it in color.
Yeah.
We've done it in stuff that's down low. Now, it's not going to stop them from putting their face or blowing on the glass, but kids will be kids. And bottom line is, it's been very successful. We've utilized this. We think it's, it's something that what we've seen is, yes, they do it the first couple times. There's always some that will do it, but most of them have really loved the ability of the transparency, and as the principal has kind of set the rules, that has stopped.
So we should increase our Windex budget, is what you're saying? Yeah.
Well, you just need it in that little area.
Yeah.
We'll send Dr. Boyd over there to do some lessons on hallway procedures.
And then this is another image as you're coming up from both the lower gym and this one is actually coming up from the cafeteria space. There was a little bit of concern from the librarian relative to noise and space within the library. So we have these existing structures and columns to do here. We created a bench. So what we've done is, once again, we've added some glass, one, to keep the transparency into the library space, but create a buffer for sound from the cafeteria to try to minimize sound that is transmitted into the library space and from the academic wing into that space. Along with some acoustical material, we're very confident that we'll be able to reduce the noise to an acceptable level. But we do want, at the same time, we do want this library to be very active and engaging at the same time. So
there's no wall on the north or south side of the library.
that is correct.
The cafeteria will be installing doors. There currently are not any doors leading into the cafeteria, and we do want to have glass doors that lead.
That's correct. Okay, yeah, we are separating the cafeteria space with new storefront at the intermediate level to kind of control that sound as much as possible down in that area. I didn't touch base on that on the plan, but good point. And then this is just another image, of the library space. This is looking from the 2nd to 5th grade wing, just kind of looking through the connector hallway into the. We have a lot of columns that we're having to deal with, so we have to cover them up. We're going to make them look very nice, but they're there. We also have some roof drains and stuff that came down in some awkward positions that we're having to address and make accommodations for. So we've had to shift some things around and work with the design committee to make sure that we're able to work around those existing parameters and constraints and still meet the needs of the campus. And then last is, as I stated kind of early on, is the schedule. This is the schematic design for phase 2. After approval, we will move forward into design development and construction documents, which are scheduled to go out in July 1st is when we are putting phase 2 out on the street to bid and come back to the board, anticipated at the August board meeting to begin construction in September, pending completion of the summer work of 2021. How that work goes will determine exactly which side of the campus we're going to put the kids in to start. So there's a lot of work to be done this summer, as we stated when we talked about phase 1. The construction manager is committed to try to make all this happen, but it's going to be a very tight schedule. Summers have gotten shorter every year for construction time. Mm-hmm. It's a very short window for them now to get all that work done, and that's part of the reason for the phase 1 scope that you're seeing tonight. Are those long lead items that if we were to wait till next month, we would not be able to procure them and get them installed in a timely manner. So with that, I'm done. I'll open it up for any questions.
Any discussion on the exterior of the building and landscaping, flat work, outdoor learning spaces, all that stuff?
We're still working on the exterior. This was the focus.
Right.
We are working with Dr. Kazanis and the committee, still looking at what we could do at the entry and kind of the front to dress that area up. We do have a layout for the new parent loop drive, but pending, it could change a little bit pending what we move forward with on what we're going to do on the front entry. And so we're trying to schedule that. I will be back. That's part of that too. I will be back next month to address the exterior portion of the building. Now, when we did do the bond, a lot of that scope, as far as the exterior, we will probably have to look at that as an alternate bid, and the district will have to make that decision. That was not fully in our budget. When we did the bond planning, we were really focused on converting the school and not really changing a whole lot on the exterior. So we're working with the construction manager to kind of see where we're at. Budget-wise, on phase 2, in my original estimate, the phase 1 scope was supposed to be approximately around $2 million for all of the phase 1 scope of work. Based upon the budget that we have currently as we move into bidding, is we're sitting at about $2.4 million. Now, it hasn't been bid out yet. So I'm hopeful that maybe we can bring it in closer to that $2 million and stay closer so we can have more money to really focus on and see what we can do on the exterior of the building. I think we're good on the interior. It's just that exterior scope.
I know one of the things that always bugged me on that school, and I like air conditioning units, but when you drive up, none of them, they're all those units sitting on the front of the building, they're
Yep.
not screened. Whatever landscaping was there years ago is gone.
Correct.
It just
Well,
looks like-
we have some really nice ideas.
Yeah.
Conrad has been working on some stuff with the team. We have not had had not had time to present that to Dr. Kazanis and the team yet. So we're trying to schedule that for next week. But we will be back next month to present that exterior plan.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay,
And I'm
thanks.
so excited you feel that way, Mr. Tullis.
Yeah.
And the board, hopefully, that would be nice, we can do something to the
Yeah,
exterior.
it's a little tired.
It is very,
It's
challenging.
tiring.
It's challenging. Especially the air conditioners in the front of the drive, yes.
They can be moved for a price, but yeah.
Exactly. Everything for a price.
Other questions from the board?
Good. I agree totally with Dr. Kazanis that flipping the library and offices is just way more natural flow, whether for student flow, security, parent access. I mean, on all fronts, that looks a lot better. I didn't realize how quirky this building is. There's a lot of round walls and angled walls and not many squares and the windows. I mean, all that stuff. There's a lot of moving targets for y'all to work on, and it looks good.
Well, thank you. I think the committee and the team did a great job. It is a challenging little project, and they came out, yes, flipping it, when we were looking at the bond program originally, we weren't thinking about that specifically. We had money in there to do it, but once we sat down, and we said, well, wouldn't it make sense to do that? And I don't remember who brought that up, but it was like, oh yeah, it like hit you in the face. It was like it was so obvious.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Very good.
Thank
you,
y'all.
Steve.
Yeah.
All right then, monthly finance report. Wesley.
All right. So as Dr. Kazanis mentioned, on March 11th, President Biden did sign the third round of COVID relief. This particular bill is sending roughly $12.5 billion, sorry, of funds. Thank you. To Texas K-12 education. That amount, coupled with December's bill of $5.5 billion, will send adds up to $18 billion additional funds that the current legislature did not file in their budget bill. A portion of that probably will go towards some foundation school program items such as enrollment growth and property tax compression. But there still will be a sizable portion that will be supplemental, so over and above what the normal formulas will give us. It still remains to be seen how that will be distributed and what the allowability of those costs. I know there's talk of emphasis on learning loss, and so there's different categories that those funds may be required to be spent under. At the state level, TA did extend the average daily attendance hold harmless through the second semester. So that's good news for us. That's definitely advantageous for us. It'll bring up our ADA for the year. The only stipulation there is our 6 weeks percentage of in-person learners has to be 80%, or our 6 weeks in-person learning percentage of students has to be greater than what it was at the fall PEAM snapshot. So currently, I think we're about 84% in-person learners, and in the fall PEAM's snapshot, we were like 77%. So we feel good about qualifying for for that additional hold harmless. And that is reflected on page 13 of our financial report and our budget projection for the current year. That brings us to a projected surplus of $720,000. Also, in the consent agenda is a budget amendment, Budget Amendment 21-6, to provide funds for the restoration services from the ice storm. After paying our $25,000 deductible, we expect to be reimbursed from insurance proceeds for the balance. And finally, on pages 14 to 16 of our financial report, there's a refinancing opportunity and a little short report that Specialized Public Finance, our financial advisory services company, put together. The refinancing opportunity is our 2008A bonds. They are becoming callable. The current interest rate is 3%. We're projecting to be able to lock in a 1.19% interest rate. That doesn't extend the life of the bonds. They'll still be paid off in 2028, and it'll provide $1.5 million of savings over the remaining life of the bond. The proposed bond order just allows the district, gives parameters for the district to be able to approve the sale of the bonds as long as the principal amount doesn't exceed the $4.4 million, and we achieve the net present value savings of 4%. Any questions?
So one more time, that percent is 1.19 now?
Yes, I did check, and our next round of callable bonds, we're 3 or 4 years away. So.
It's outstanding to save
Wow,
1.5
that's
million.
Yeah, it is. If no questions, thank you, Wesley. Good report. Bond construction update, Buddy.
Having served as a school business manager in my previous life, I really appreciate us having Wesley Brooks, and I hope that y'all do too. He does a fantastic job. Yes, sir. And I like to brag on him because he's my boss, so. Work on the CTE and Ag Shop addition continues. We do have our first slab poured. The slab for the Ag Shop addition has been poured, and they're close to getting the slab poured for the CTE. So that's coming along. If you've been by there, you've seen all the dirt. It's all messed up out in front where they're putting in the parking lot. The plans are to have that parking lot ready for band to use for practice when they come back in August. River Valley. They've started drilling the piers at River Valley. They're about halfway through on drilling the piers. We did run into an issue at River Valley with groundwater. And so we had a meeting out there last week, and part of the slab that's going to be under the gymnasiums, it was the groundwater it was crazy. I mean, you could drive a backhoe across the pad that they'd put in, and it would just float across the dirt. And so what was decided was to put in a French drain, or the technical term is an under drain, on the side of the school over there next to those houses on the back. And so they've dug a 6-foot trench there, put a 4-inch perforated pipe wrapped in a cloth there, and so far the slab seems to be drying out, or the pad seems to be drying out. It's remarkably drier today than it was just this time last week. So we think that's going to solve the problem. Don't know why. You know, that's just one of those things that you don't know what groundwater is going to be like until you get stuff dug out. At the new elementary site, same thing. We have groundwater issues. But what we're going to do there, instead of digging a new ditch for a French drain, we're going to try to utilize a ditch that was already going to be dug for the storm sewer. At River Valley, the storm sewer was only 3 feet deep, and we needed a 6-foot deep French drain, so that didn't work. But I think we've got it all under control, and it's looking good. We're still ahead of schedule at River Valley, so we're ahead of schedule at the new elementary. If you haven't been by there, it looks quite a bit different than it did just a month ago. There is a proposal for CMAR for the Technology Center on the agenda this evening. If that is approved, David plans on having a meeting possibly this week with the construction manager and us, and we're going to get started on that. Here, the schedule that he has right now is to have the drawings completely finished by May 1st, bid it by June 1st, and actually start construction by July 1st. 5.5 months of construction and be finished in the middle of December. So we're still working on those plans, and Mr. Pagel, we're going to work in your suggestions. Cloud construction, there is a GMP for the first package of phase 1, and there may have been some confusion on what we're calling it, but we still have phase 1 and phase 2, like Stephen talked about tonight. But phase 1 is in 2 packages, and the GMP for tonight is the first package because we needed to get doors and some storefront and door hardware and things that have a long lead time on ordering them. We need to get that bid out. And those bids did come in under budget. So we felt good about that. So if that's approved, we'll move forward with that. I think we have a pre-construction meeting tomorrow on the rest of phase 1. We have a high school and Midway HVAC project going on this summer. There's a recommendation to approve the installer. We got bids for the install on that. The bids came in really good, and we're excited about getting to do that. Those units have been ordered, and so if you approve that agenda item, then we will be beginning on that this week. Oh, and Rick, your question about the landscaping. Huckabee has a landscaping engineer that's their consultant on the new elementary, and that same firm, the same guy that's doing it, is also working on Woodgate. So he understands that we really need Woodgate to be comparable to the new elementary, and plus we're adding playgrounds, which is not at Woodgate, so that's going to affect the landscaping also. Any questions? Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, buddy. And last but not least on our presentation, special ed update. Sharon.
Good evening. Thank you all for allowing me to come and share with you about the program that I'm about to pass off to my successor. Last year this time, I don't know if you remember what we were doing. I was supposed to present in March of 2020, but something happened and we weren't able to, something that's just taken us a whole year to recover from. But COVID happened and I didn't get to present to you. So some of the information that we talk about tonight is going to be some information from then as well. So does this work for me too? Or are you doing? Okay, awesome. Oh, good. Okay, so last year this time, our Director of Special Education out of the state, TEA, told us about some increased funding that was coming in related to students with dyslexia, students that are in our mainstream and co-teach settings, and also students who are college and career ready and military ready. And so I wanted to share with you a little bit about what those numbers look like for us. So when you think about how many kids are we talking about that this affects, I wanted to be able to give those numbers to you. And as you can see, we're increasing in each year a little bit more in our dyslexia numbers. We're also real excited about the increase in our mainstream and co-teach students. These are our students who are totally exposed to the general education curriculum, and we're going to see the benefits of that in just a minute when we go over the STAR results. But these students, they're recognizing at the state level that they require a little bit more funding because we're adding additional personnel into a general education setting. So in a co-teach setting, you have a general education teacher, fully trained, and a special education teacher, fully trained. And they're both in the classroom at the same time, working with general education and special education students that are in that class. So they're getting the full curriculum, but the special education teacher is there to help with accommodations or even teaching a lesson in a different way that's profitable for every child that's in the room, not just for our special education students. So we're excited about those numbers increasing. And then our college, career, and military ready numbers are increasing as well. So I feel like we're on a really good trajectory for our students and giving them the maximum opportunities. The next piece I wanted to share with you were just our numbers overall. And I came in as director in 2017-18. If you remember, that was the year that the Houston Chronicle newspaper article came out about that 8.5% special education cap, and that we were denying services across the state of Texas by staying under that 8.5%. So what we did as a department, and we recognized that we were missing some students. We were missing students that would qualify as students who need specialized supports and services. And so we passed the baton back to the campus principals and campus educational staff to be able to make those decisions on their own. Do you feel like this child needs to be evaluated? Currently, our do not qualify rate on evaluations runs us about 10%. It's very low. And so we are finding more and more students who are in need of special services. So currently, our state rate, our rate is about 11.8%. The state rate runs 12.5 to 13.2%. So we're still a little bit under the state rate, but we're definitely headed in the right direction. Staff data, just to give you an overall indication of how our numbers have increased, but also our staff has increased. And we want to thank you profusely for supporting that. We're able to provide the best special education instruction and support anywhere in the Central Texas area. We're very proud of the programs we have in place and the staff that we have to meet the needs of our students.
Sharon, if you don't mind me
Go ahead.
interrupting you, but the board, if you just look, like you said, 17-18 school year, and looking at the instructional staff, but that is, if I do the math, 40 or so, and then with on the other column, administrative evaluation specialist service providers, though just 6 additional. So Sharon's comments about the co-teach program, but also the rise, in terms of the percentage of students qualifying, they've gone directly back to the classroom.
Right.
With the instructional staff.
Right.
Direct services to kids.
Yes, and our teaching staff feel very supported in the district. We're working very diligently to provide them with all curriculum and training that they need to provide quality instruction for our kids. But they also have a lot of support behaviorally and instructionally from some of our district-wide specialists that go out and support them. One of the foundational goals that we adopted when I came in 2017 was to create systems and structures that support the integration of special education information, curriculum, staff, students, and families into all aspects of Midway. So when we came in, there was almost like this silo, this separation, that there was special ed over here and there was everything else Midway over here. And our goal throughout these past 4 years has been to integrate those and recognize that our students, our special education students, are general education students first. And so they deserve all that's offered for everyone else. And our general education teachers are taking much more ownership of those students in their classrooms, which is phenomenal. It's wonderful. So I want to talk a little bit about integrating the curriculum, staff, and students. And one of the measurements of that is our STAR data. Now, we know that in 2020, we didn't have any STAR data. if you're looking at the old PowerPoint on your screen, you may not be able to see some of these points up here, but I gave Cindy a new one this afternoon to show these points better. Oh, are you going to share it with them?
She's just taking our screens over, I think.
She's taking you away from you. While she's doing that, so in 2018 was the first year that special education students counted in accountability ratings. So that was a, before then, they would take a separate test, a STAR modified, and, I could go all the way back to TAX and TEAMS and all those others, TOS and, all the different acronyms. But 2018 was the first year that special education students counted in our accountability. And so what we were looking for is from 2018, 2019, what kind of growth did we see? So I want you to take a look too at the red column is the federal target rate. So red is our federal target. The Midway blue is the 2019 data, and the light blue is the 2018 data. So this is reading academic achievement. And one thing that I think is really interesting is that the first set of bar graphs is our current special ed students, but the second set are former special ed students. So these are students who have been exited out of special education and are now in the general population without any services, supports or services. And so I feel like we're really preparing our kids to move into that general education setting. And you'll see that they're operating comparable to their peers in many of these areas, or getting that way, getting close to there. This is the academic achievement status of math, and then reading, the growth. So what we were able to see from 2018-19 to spring of 2018 to spring of 2019 was how much growth did our special education students make in that 1 year. And that growth pattern is also part of our accountability. And so we're also looking at how much growth these students make. So I'm going to go on through. Now this particular screen, the growth in math, the blues are flipped. So the light blue is still the 2018 data. The dark blue is the 2019 data. And here's another way of looking at it. As far as approaches, meets, and masters, our special education students versus our former SPED students versus all Midway students. And you can see how we compare in that way. We were really bummed because we couldn't take it last spring. I know that's really weird because everybody's so glad they didn't have to take STAR, but we were really wanting to see how our kids were going to do this last year. One of the areas of accountability is continuous improvement, TEA. From the results-driven accountability, we didn't have to present any type of a plan, but we are in a performance level 1 with our area of strengths being the students who have exited, the year after exit, and our current SPED in science. We still need to pay attention to our current SPED students in reading, writing, math, and social studies. But for our EOC kids, our high school students, our area of strengths were our current SPED students in math, science, and social studies. And then our area of needing attention is the ELA. Other accountability measures, our areas of strength are our special ed dropout rate. We work very diligently to make sure our students complete and don't drop out of school. We work very hard at that. Our early childhood rate, we have a good representation in early childhood, but not an over-representation, so that was good for us. The mainstream co-teach rate is good. That means that we've got our students in general education curriculum, like I talked about before, and then our self-contained rate, which means we don't have so many students in a self-contained setting pulling them out of that general education curriculum. So those are all areas of strength for us in our accountability, but some areas that need attention. One is our graduation rate of special ed students. And if you remember, One of the reasons why that rate is lower than the state average is that many of our special education students move into our 18-plus program, which is our students who have finished their high school requirements, but they still need some more support. So there are more disabled students, if you will, from 18 to 22, and we have a transition program that they move into. So once they finish those IEP goals in their transition program, then they are considered graduates. But they don't finish with their four-year cohort, and that's what they're looking at with this particular graduation rate. And then our total disciplinary removals rate. And this is one area that we are going to look at with a performance level 2. We did have to provide a strategic support plan, submit to TEA for our disciplinary removals, specifically in-school suspension. And so our current rate was 13.6%, and our goal is to reduce it to 10%. And the way we're attacking this is that we are training and working with our campus administrators in looking at alternative disciplinary measures that they can use so that they're not removing the child out of the curriculum to discipline them, but maybe using an after-school discipline, a before-school discipline, a Saturday school, something along that line, so they're not missing that instruction. What we have found, we're meeting with our middle school and high school administrators once a month to review their disciplinary data. And what we are finding is that they're doing a phenomenal job working with these students in being creative in ways that they can discipline the kids. One of the things we in the special education department want to offer them is the ability to analyze the data to see if we see any patterns. Like, is the child acting up in a particular class all the time? Does that child need more supports and services in that class? Do we need to look at maybe some counseling services for social emotional issues? What are some things that we as a department can do to help that child stay in the classroom as much as possible? So that's a strategic plan that we are working on for TEA this year. Another area, another part of the foundational goal that we had 4 years ago was the integration of information with our staff and students, not just curriculum, but all kinds of ways that we can integrate special education students. One of those is our Special Olympic program that has grown exponentially in the 4 years that we've been here. And you can see we have 6 sports. Disc golf was added this year. And next year we're adding volleyball and cheerleading to Special Olympics. So we're very excited about that. But I also want you to notice when we first got here, or when I first came in 2017, the only area of Special Olympics was at the high school. But look at what's happened in these 4 years, that we're incorporating all the way down into the elementary level with Special Olympics. And a benefit of that is that our general education population is recognizing that these kids can also do some of the same things that they do. And so we're able to integrate and be a part of that campus, and that campus can celebrate the successes of these kids as well. Another portion of what we're doing is called Unified Sports. And Unified Sports brings a general education student to come in and partner with a special education student, and they create a team. So these are teams that compete against each other. Last year we had bowling was our main unified sport that we did. This year we're going to have a track team that's going to compete at the inaugural state UIL unified track meet in San Antonio. So we're real excited about that. It is a UIL event. And so our kids are practicing, and they're going to be doing the 4x100 relay races down there. 2 special education students and 2 general education students will make up the team of 4 that are going to run the relay. So we're real excited about that opportunity for them. Last year we had a Best Buddies and Partners program where general education peers would support and work with their Special Olympians. This year with Special Olympics, we just now got the go-ahead that we can do some activities. And so it's been really a challenge to get that going and get those best buddies to be a part of that with all the COVID restrictions. But we do have a partners PE program at the middle school and high school. When our special education students go to, and I'm talking about our more significantly disabled students, when they go to PE, general education students are coming in, and that's their PE as well, but they're partners with those kids. And so they're helping them with the activity, whatever the activity is. And some of them are even planning the activities, which is really cool to see those general education students plan activities for their kids. And what this does is it opens the eyes of those general education peers to recognize and include those kids. I know at middle school, they bring them over and let them sit at their table at lunch, and they introduce them to their friends and all those kinds of things. And that's just a wonderful way for those kids to be integrated into the culture of the campus. Our Empower program that I mentioned before for the 18-plus students, these are some of the areas that they went to last year before COVID. You can see they were very busy visiting all kinds of different businesses and community activities throughout the area. This year, their main outing, if you will, is a group will come up here to the middle school, a group of 2 or 3 kids. They'll get our credit card and they'll go to H-E-B and buy some groceries, and then they'll cook. And so that's their cooking activity that they have each week. And then some of the students who can't get out and go do the cooking, they are what they're called in production. So they're making things like clipboards and magnets and things like that, and bookmarks that they're selling for proceeds. And so that's really cool that they get to be a part of that. But one of the most impactful situations that's happened so far this year is our one-act play at the high school chose a play to perform in competition called The Boys Next Door. And it's a play about developmentally disabled and mentally disabled adults who live in a group home that has moved into a neighborhood. And it's a play about their interactions with others and the impact they have on each other and on other people that they come in contact with. In preparation for their competition, the one-act play crew asked if they could come meet the students at Empower, because this is the age group that they would be portraying in this play. What we thought was going to be a one-time meet and greet kind of thing ended up to be a weekly occurrence. And they're coming over every week to meet with these kids, play games with them, do crafts with them, just spend time with them. And one of the guys, after the first couple of times, he went up to Miss Johnson, our transition specialist, and said, "You know what? These kids are just like us. They're just like we are." And I thought, that's exactly right. I mean, that's what we want you all to understand, is that they have value, that they're important. They just want to be loved and they want to have friends just like you do. And we were fortunate last Tuesday night, to go watch a dress rehearsal at the PAC, and it was phenomenal. The way that those actors portrayed these developmentally disabled adults. So much so that we were in tears and laughing and going back and forth. It was a lot to take in. It was almost like an emotional roller coaster to watch them do this. But they're still going over there once a week just to hang out with them. And they want to continue to do it for the rest of the year. And they've also said that when they do their one-act play for the public, and they charge admission to come in, they want to give half the proceeds to the Empower program. So because they've just made such a connection with those young adults. So I just want to close by thanking you all. In the 4 years that I've been here, I want to thank you as a school board and, of course, the administration at the district. I didn't think I'd do that. For your understanding, your encouragement, your presence, and your support for this program. I feel like, and I've shared this before, I feel like I've turned around the Titanic. It's been quite an experience, but it's been a blessing beyond measure. I mean, I could never tell you how much blessing there is in what we do. And I know that Lisa's going to take it and run with it as fast as her little legs will take her. And but she's going to carry on with our mission because we believe in what we do, and we believe in these kids, and we believe in all that they can contribute to our lives. They can change your life. Sure, they certainly will. So I thank you guys very much. Do you have any questions for me?
I have one comment, Sharon. In looking at the co-teach mainstream, if my math was correct, since the 2018-19 school year, y'all have increased that by 4 percentage points as far as the percentage of the special ed students that are in that. That's impressive, and y'all are all to be commended for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So, I mean, all the other numbers are impressive too, but that one particularly in light of, like you said, all the benefits that it brings and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for your years of service to the kids everywhere and your last 4 years here at Midway.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, agreed, thank you. I do wonder, has there been any concerns with general ed teachers, you know, having training capacity, bandwidth in having special ed kids in their classroom? Has that been an issue? Have we?
Actually, we had, I mean, many times teachers are like, I'm not sure what to do. You know, I have a student who has autism, I'm not sure what to do.
Right.
We provide a plethora of professional development over the summer. We also provide immediate support. So our instructional support staff that work on the campuses, if there's a general education teacher that says, I need some help, boy, our instructional staff are in there with the general education instructional staff and the principals and assistant principals to say, what can we do to support you? And so we're doing some immediate response, but then we're also offering many, many training opportunities over the summer.
Yeah. I can see where that'd be difficult. I don't know what kind of training do teachers get, in their education coming out of
For special
college?
education, not much at all.
Really? Yeah. So it's
No, not
very
much at all.
challenging, Yeah.
It's a baptism by fire kind of experience. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, then, consideration items. We have a lengthy consent agenda. We got minutes from our February meetings, our waiver for the hybrid instruction, the schematic design that we heard about earlier this meeting, another new club at the high school, Young Democrats, a number of early graduation requests, the budget amendments that Wesley talked about, our E-rate item, contract for the election, notice of the joint election, the refunding of the bonds that were talked about during the finance update, our teacher incentive allotment spending plan, our HVAC testing for the various locations where we're doing construction, our CMAR ratings for the technology, GMP for phase 1, first part, and then, of course, last but not least, our ranking for the folks to do the work on the geothermal wells. Any board member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pagel. Second by Dr. Popejoy. All in favor say aye. Aye. That's 3 in favor and 1 abstention, Cindy. Abstention because Capstone Mechanical is the winner on number 16. Congratulations to them. Consideration of personnel, you have an addendum, and we have a number of professional recommendations that, anything we need to talk about them, or we just need to approve them? Yes. Exciting. So do we have a motion to approve the professional recommendations?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Tullis, second by Mr. Pagel. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We don't need to go into closed session on any personnel matters, right? Anything else on personnel? Okay. We are going to go into closed session on real estate matters under 551.072 of the Texas Government Code. I have 8:36, and we'll go into closed session now. Thank you all.